Welcome to Undisputed, live from Los Angeles. I'm Jason McIntyre here with my man Greg Jennings and Rob Parker. Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Doing great. You know, the best part of filling in for Skip and Shannon while they were on vacation is that I could park in Skip Bayless's parking spot.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
And I got to tow you.
Right by the door, right there.
Get that ticket.
All right, coming up on today's show, did Antonio Brown, we kind of went after him a little bit yesterday.
Kind of you
went
after
we.
Yeah, you.
Yeah. How did he handle his helmet mess? Did he handle it properly? And, of course, an all-time great Laker thinks LeBron has nothing to prove. I think Rob Parker disagrees with that a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But we got to start the show with Dak Prescott. The Dak drama continues for Dallas. After it was reported that the quarterback turned down $30 million a year, Jane Slater of the NFL Network came out saying that Dak wants to be the highest paid play caller in the league and get a contract worth $40 million a year. But it doesn't stop there. Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio said that report is, quote, all caps false, and Dak doesn't want $40 million a year. All this comes after Stephen Jones said last week that he would be willing to let Dak play out the final year of his contract. Rob, there's a lot there. Should the Cowboys let Dak play out his contract?
If I'm the Cowboys, that's where I would go, Greg, from this standpoint. And I get it. If you roll the dice and he has a big year, it's going to cost you money, big money down the road. But all the numbers, everything else that goes in when you talk about Dak, they're middle of the road. And he hasn't shown you that he should be paid top dollar yet as a quarterback. Football Focus, yesterday we talked about what they ranked him 26th. 55 executives around the NFL in ranking quarterbacks and different players had him as a third-tier quarterback. We see moments, I'm not saying he can't play at all, but we know most of the time in his situation, he needs the running game to be working for him, he needs the defense, he needs just everything to be right for, it seems, for Dak to really excel as a quarterback. We've seen him miss throws, we've seen him be shut down a little bit once the running game's not there. So if I'm the Cowboys, I just want more. Let me see. Let me have him have this bust-out year this year, win another division, get them closer, get them to the NFC Championship game, maybe get them to the Super Bowl. I'll open up the coffers after that. I have no problem paying once somebody produces. But to me, there are too many question marks about Dak Prescott. I'm not convinced he is that franchise quarterback. He may have the potential, but he hasn't had the production to pay him that kind of money.
I disagree with you. Not totally. I understand where you're coming from, but no, I would pay Dak Prescott right now. And for all the reasons that you're mentioning, because he hasn't shown the Dallas Cowboys that he is a top 5+ quarterback, an elite quarterback, if you will. But he has proven that he can get the job done. He has been viable. He has been consistent. He's been available, as I've mentioned, and he's a great leader. And when you add all those things up, you then start to look at, okay, what are the numbers? If I franchise tag him, if I let him play out the contract, and then I franchise tag him, what is that going to cost me? But then, not just what is it going to cost me the next 2 years, but then if he does have that big if that you're mentioning of having a great year this year, then that costs me more money. So why don't I get him now when I understand that the market value of the quarterback is going to continue to rise? You got Patrick Mahomes who's going to come up. You got a Deshaun Watson, Jared Goff who's coming up on the contract. These guys are going to get paid, and they're going to get paid top dollar. So you have to equate that into your chess play and moves that you're going to make, trying to make sure that this personnel that you currently have on your roster, that you've assembled, stays together. The best way to do that is to pay Dak Prescott the $31 million, somewhere around there. You don't like it, but that's what the quarterback market value is right now, and deal with the rest later.
It's interesting, Greg. I have to side with Mr. Parker here. You remember the show Game of Thrones, right? Winter is coming. Big deal. Regression is coming for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. Greg, a stat that we didn't talk about yesterday. I don't know how I missed this. Do you know Dak was sacked 56 times last year? Behind that awesome offensive line, I know the center was
holds the ball too long.
He holds the ball too long. One of the slower releases in the NFL, according to some advanced stats. And I just look at, if he's got a slow release, he's taken 56 sacks because Dak doesn't want to make mistakes. Like his rookie year, he was lights out, right? I think 4 interceptions, didn't turn the football over. Guess who his top 2 targeted guys were last year? Cole Beasley and Ezekiel Elliott. Cole Beasley's in Buffalo. Ezekiel Elliott's in Cabo right now. So you combine a quarterback who's very skittish in the pocket, took 56 sacks, take away his top 2 targeted guys. What are we looking at here? Everything for me comes up regression. And you say $30 to $31 million? I mean, why wouldn't you just wait, as Rob said, let him play it out, worst case scenario, you franchise, and if they go 7-9, he's not getting anything. I'm not paying him.
Here's another scenario, and I remember in Washington with Kirk Cousins. They drafted him the same year, right? Remember,
yeah.
with RG3. He played, he put up numbers, they made the playoffs. They were never sold on him, right? They were never, despite watching every snap he ever took as a pro, they franchise tagged him twice. He was making a lot of money, and they let him walk. They let him go to Minnesota. Didn't work out. I think Minnesota thought they had gotten this guy that was going to put him over the top. They finally got the quarterback to go with this great defense. It didn't happen. But my point is, sometimes you have to look at it, and they were never convinced. If they really believed that Kirk Cousins was that guy, they would have given him the contract. He was their draft choice. He was the guy that they watched. In Dak Prescott, I look at it the same way. If you had a quarterback who won the division twice in 3 years, right? Won you a playoff game, a franchise that's probably won 2 or 3 playoff games in the last 25 years, all the stuff you talk about, leadership and he's available and all that stuff would push you to sign him to a long-term deal saying, we got our franchise quarterback. This is what we've been waiting for.
Greg probably doesn't mind.
They won't do it.
Giving up somebody else's money. You guys go pay Dak. Give him the 30.
But all of what you're saying is great, but they have, reports are out there that they've offered him top 5 quarterback money already.
No, it's top 6, and it's not what you call it. When you talk about the contracts that they pay franchise quarterbacks, he's not topping the last guy. That's why
he's not topping the last.
Why not? He's supposed to be. You just told me. He's a great leader. He's about the Cowboy.
No, Rob, we're not talking about him getting the $40 million mark that has been rumored out there. No, all of us understand he's not going to get that number. But to sit here and for me to believe that he's not going to get the $30 million, no, that he's going to get that. He is going to get that number because Jerry Jones has already let it be known that this is our guy. This is our guy. Regardless of how you feel it doesn't take 55 execs. I don't see 55 owners in the National Football League. So you keep throwing out these 55 executives. They don't own, all these executives don't own the team. So I'm not concerned about those guys. Dak Prescott isn't concerned about those guys. He's concerned about one guy. Possibly 2, Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones, period. And they're sold on him. It's just a matter of coming to an agreement and to terms on what that number looks like. And you talk about he's lost Cole Beasley. Well, he added Randall Cobb. Would you take Cole Beasley over Randall Cobb?
I need to see Randall Cobb prove it.
Stop
he struggled at the end in Green Bay. You know that.
Stop it. And do we really believe that Ezekiel Elliott is just not going to be present?
Well, that's the one thing I want to add. So, Rob, he keeps talking about the idea that Dak could light the world on fire, then you got to pay him $35 million. I'm just going to point out a couple things about the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start with their head coach, Jason Garrett. He's what we call a lame duck coach, right? Going to the final year of his contract. He's thinking about Jason Garrett. Ezekiel Elliott holding out on a beach in Cabo. He's the #1 running back. Amari Cooper, you know when the last time he practiced was? August 2nd, dealing with a heel injury. Also waiting for Julio Jones to sign his big money deal. We're looking at a Dallas Cowboys team. Everybody is thinking about themselves. Look at the defense. DeMarcus Lawrence, they just paid him. He's coming off shoulder surgery. Byron Jones, best defensive back. He's coming off surgery. Robert Quinn, the edge rusher they just signed, suspended for 2 games. I don't see where you're seeing a Dallas Cowboys team that Dak is going to excel and they're winning 10, 11, 12 games. This team is going to struggle.
Do you notice all the players he just listed? Those are pretty good playmakers right there, don't you believe?
Certainly.
Okay, so what are you talking about? Once they're on the field, all of this notion of I'm in it for myself, that's out the window.
Oh, is it?
Because they all want to win.
If they get the deal.
The #1 reason you get paid equates to winning. You win, you get paid. Dak Prescott knows that. Jason Garrett understands that. All of these guys understand that. You can have great individual statistics, but you will bounce from team to team, and no one will you won't stick if you can't prove that you can win. We see it with Antonio Brown. He got released from the Steelers because they're like, you know what? We haven't won with them, so let's just let him go. Okay, somebody else will then pick you up. But right now, with the names that you mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys look like a pretty darn good team.
I might need to do the wings bet with you that he keeps talking about. I know Skip and Shannon bet Mountain Dew, right?
Right. No,
I'll bet some Dr. Pepper or something.
And your Amari Cooper stretch.
Hey, he's waiting.
He ain't playing right now. That's such a reach.
He's sitting out.
That's such a. Even Rob had to look at you.
He don't want to play.
That's such a.
So why is Amari Cooper sitting out? He's just not even practicing at all. Hasn't practiced since August 2nd.
So there's something in football or in sport called injury.
Oh, yeah.
Where
I'm sure it's serious.
At this point in the season, the premature season that obviously means so much that Amari Cooper should be out there if you were the head coach, he's not playing or practicing because he's getting healthy.
Yeah.
Because there's something called the regular season that actually matters.
Greg, my question to you is this. Okay, say they don't get a deal done and they decide to play it out, and Dak struggles or is mediocre this year. Are you that sold that you would still say, okay, I'm still going to sign him? Or would that change your mind depending on what type of year he's having?
If there's no deal set in place before, let's say, week 2 or 3, and you see that he's struggling, now the leverage is back into the hands of the organization.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying to you, have you been convinced enough that even with a year to struggle, people struggle, people have off years. Have you seen enough that you still would say, despite the struggle, I'm going to sign him because he's my franchise quarterback. He's going to lead me to a Super Bowl?
I have seen enough.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
I have seen it personally. I've seen enough. When I weigh my pros and my cons, everyone wants to talk about, and I'm a receiver, his accuracy. Well, when I look at the accuracy of a quarterback, you have to have guys that are allowing you to get open.
He's still missing throws.
He still misses throws.
Okay.
And he does hold on to the ball a little too long. But I think that's his discomfort with what he